Welcome back to Real Repairs for Real Customers. We have a challenge today with a Cessna Citation 5. I got a call a couple of months ago to be ready to do a set of seats for the Citation. Then I didn't hear for about a week or so, so I called them back. And they said we decided to go in a different direction with the seats. And that happens quite often, actually. They might have decided to get some more usage out of the seats before refurbishing, or sometimes they decide to go with new leather instead. It's very typical in this business. So I didn't think anything more of it. Then I got a call a couple of days ago that we have a set of seats from a Citation we'd like you to come and get. So I said, well, great, because I have a set of seats that I'm going to deliver, and I can just pick those up and bring them back on the same trip. So I got down there and looked, and they're from the Cessna Citation 5. That's the very same set of seats they corresponded with me a couple of months ago. And what had happened is someone else tried their hand at refurbishing. And they ran into a great deal of difficulty. In fact, such difficulty that they ended up having to just walk away and just leave the mess. So that's why they called me to correct that. To either, well, you could say redo or undo what was done. So this set of seats we're going to salvage. We had that problem once before on another airplane, and we're up against that kind of trial with this plane as well. Now, we're not going to belabor the point about somebody's failure. We're not trying to embarrass anybody, concentrating on what they didn't do or did wrong, but we were going to want to use this opportunity to discuss some of the pitfalls that you can find in doing such a project. And here, all the pitfalls are here in this one. So let's ascertain what went wrong. Let's see how we can correct what's gone wrong. And this will provide a really good case study for the methods that we employ in modern refurbishment of leather. So first of all, let's go and assess all of the damage, shall we? So initially, the crew seats are being recovered with this particular leather right here. And all of these panels are in the cockpit, so these panels would have to be colored to match the crew seats. So we're good with that. And then it was decided that let's make all the cabin seats the same color as the crew seats. But then they got to thinking there's going to be a problem because the drink rails or the armrest ledges down the side of the aircraft, those are a little different color. And so we got a sample, and you can see sample of the armrest ledge is quite a different color. So these wouldn't match very well. And we thought, well, okay, so let's make the cabin seats match the armrest ledges. So we went on back down to the facility and we took a look at the armrest ledges and the sidewall panels. And here's what we found. And I don't know how this is going to show on the video, but there are dark streaks here. So we have a couple of different colors there. Here's another one. And you can see the dark streaks in this panel. Hopefully they'll show up in the video. And this really looked terrible. It was a disaster. So you can't really match the cabin seats to this kind of mess. What are you going to match to? And these are different. So we went back and talked to the crew chief, and it was decided that since everything is helter-skelter here, let's just go ahead and pull off all these side panels and the drink rails, and let's just make them all the same color as the crew seats. That was my suggestion as far as making the whole interior of the plane one uniform color. So they corresponded with the owner, and he said, yes, that sounds good. Let's do that. So that's our plan. The color that was chosen for the seats by the previous guy, you can see, is another color entirely different than anything. So we've got a variety of colors here. So nothing is going to match. This is absolutely looking horrible. So anyway, that's the plan. We're going to strip this color. We're going to make these panels the cockpit color. We're going to make these seats the cockpit color. And that's our plan. Now, one of the first difficulties this repair tech had trouble with is matching the color. We can see here his attempts at a color. If this is where he started, and here's a bit of yellow, can you see that? Right here. So he's trying to adjust this by adding yellow, and that's totally the wrong approach. We can see how dark the value is here and how light the leather is here. So to adjust the color is totally wrong. It's really quite stupid to, frankly, to be adjusting the color when the value is so far off. Adjust the value first. When you adjust the value, then and only then will you see what color adjustment needs to be. So it's totally backwards in his attempts to find the color. And what color did he find? Well, let's grab one. So that's the color he ended up with for some reason. I don't understand why, because that has no relevance at all. But anyhow, that's what he's done. Now let's take a look at what he has recolored and what he hasn't. Okay, so all of the seat bottoms were colored, and then it appears that he's run out of paint. And as he's running out of paint, he is scurrying to touch up whatever he can with what paint is remaining. For example, on this seat, we can see that the back is not dyed, so that's the original color. But if we look up here, and let me try to bring you up here a little bit. You can look up here. You can see there is some yellow here, and it's covering some brown spots. What is that? And then let's take a look down here. We can look at these seats. So we've got this seat is colored. Okay, let's see if we can focus that a little better. There we go. So that seat is dyed. That seat is not, and then that seat is. So he's run out of color. Now with this seat, he's run out of color, so he's done the top of the seat, but not this part. And then, if we look here, he's done the top of the arm, but not the lower part of the arm. And the lower part of the arm looks dirty. And I probably failed to mention, this is obviously a solvent color. This is a lacquer-based paint he's put on here. And that's very questionable. As soon as I saw it, I said, yep, lacquer. And then I felt it, and yep, sure enough. But look at this difference in color here, where he stopped because he ran out of paint. And look at the original. Does it appear to you that this has not even been cleaned? Well, let's give it a cleaning and see what happens. So we can see where it's nice and clean here, but not here. And this is slimy, and this is not. And this is very typical whenever you see someone doing the old school lacquer paints. They're also shortcutting the cleaning. And as you can see, this has not been cleaned properly. It's not been prepped properly. And that's exactly what we expected to see. And now this is the backrest of the same seat. And that shows up very similarly there. I hope you can see the difference in that. Here again, they didn't even take the time to clean and prep. Now we haven't even gone the prep step yet, but just cleaning. They left the original dirt on here. They sprayed lacquer from the top down to here, and then on the top of that arm, as we saw. That's it. There's no cleaning, no prepping, just spraying the wrong color lacquer. I don't know if this will show up, but here is the one panel that they've dyed, and see the scratch that's not even repaired in that panel. Now let's go over to this panel. This is the seat bottom. And I'm already looking at a problem here, and hopefully we can zoom in and focus on that. Can you see those spots? Let's see if that's focused here. So what we see here is the lacquer apparently has been so wet on here that it's peeling the original waterborne finish off of the leather here and here. This is going to be problematic because if we strip the lacquer finish off, it's going to do more of this peeling. And this begs the question, when was the last time that you saw a commonly production leather done in a lacquer finish? You haven't, because likely that was way before you were born that they stopped doing that. Any of the leather finishes that you are apt to see these days, whether in the automotive market or an aircraft market, these have a water-based polymer finish on them, a pigmented water-based polymer. So if you're going to do a restoration on a pigmented water-based polymer, what would be the product to use to do a true restoration? Lacquer? And so why are people insistent more and more these days in using lacquer? Why are they wanting to go back 35, 40 years ago and do the old school lacquer on top of the modern water-based pigmented polymer coatings? I don't have an answer for that. It would be nice if someone could give a scientific answer. The other question I have is, who is teaching these people that this is the correct thing to use? Why are they using it? One of the reasons I see people using lacquer is because there are solvent colors that are available in aerosols, and so it eliminates any color matching. They can grab an aerosol and spray it. They don't have to color match. They don't have to buy a compressor. They've got the propellant already in the can. And so it's a consumer kind of product. The people that are going to shortcut this coloring step, and this is not my opinion, this is my observation, 99% of the time the people that are shortcutting the coloring step are shortcutting the cleaning step. And I'm spending an inordinate amount of time every week redoing this kind of thing that you're seeing here. It's taking up way too much of my productive time actually in the field. Here's an example of it. And so instead of restoring the finish here, they're destroying the finish. And to get this lacquer off, we're going to probably destroy the finish even a little bit more, unfortunately. Let's take a look at another seat. This is another seat that's half done. This is all streaked across here. This is not done. This is a different color. If this was done, it's done in the wrong color. But here is a common pitfall for lacquer paints. Let's just drop this armrest. Listen to this. Oh. Okay. And I knew that was going to happen. I could already see that it was stuck. You see what we've got here? They failed to make a separation, and they dyed the two parts, and they glued right together. And now this is going to peel, of course, because that's just the way it's going to be. In fact, this wasn't prepped at all. You can see it wasn't prepped. And this is just going to flake off like this. So, again, they got in over their heads. They don't have the right color. They didn't clean. And they didn't take any precaution. If you have to put a lacquer finish up against a lacquer finish, you dye the one first and let it cure for a couple of days. Then you do the other one. If you need to put it up like this, what you do is put some wax paper in between there. That keeps the separation. Well, they didn't have any experience with that, so this is, again, another travesty. Well, let's see what this gives us. Okay, so the question would be, what are we going to do about these spots? What we're going to have to do is let these spots dry totally, and then we're going to sand them probably with 220 grit. We'll follow up on this seat in a little bit. Okay, so this is the first day, and all of that cockpit leather we were talking about, we did all that first. Because that way, if they want to put that in before going ahead with everything else, they can. So, and here's a little trick, little Dixie cup in the pocket, so that we can spray inside the pocket, and that does the other thing too. It enables us to spray into these little recesses. So the cup is doing double duty there. See if we can get this off. I should have taken that off first. There we go. And then the same thing with this pocket. Put a little paper towel in there. That way we can spray inside the pocket. Here we got our spraying inside. There we go. And of course this plastic shroud gets the plastic primer. I mean, you got a world-class pilot here, so he needs a first-class job, doesn't he? Alright, this is still day one. Here's the mess. Remember those black streaks that we saw on some of the panels? Well, here's the answer. Some of the panels were black. And it was the black showing through, not black streaks on. Isn't that something? So this is going to finish our day one. And the other very peculiar thing, now these are all the lower sidewall panels. They're the last to come out of the plane as well, so they have to be the first to go in. So just to show them some consideration, we're going to have these ready first. And you know, you couldn't tell when you saw these panels at first, but look at the grain here. We're seeing oxen grain that we couldn't see before because the color was so thick on there, it was filling totally the grain. Can you believe it? I mean, what we were looking at before was this. There's hardly any grain in the leather in the Cessna Citations. So this particular oxen grain is a reupholster. And I mean, this really gets pretty bad at this point because if you'll recall, we did a video some time back where we talked about if you didn't have the exact leather for a job or the exact vinyl for a particular job, let's say the particular color was discontinued. Well, the first thing that you need to pick in a fabric is the correct grain. You want the similar grain first. And look at there, I got stuff all over me from stripping. So if you go with the correct grain and get the color at least close, you can always recolor. Okay, I'm not wanting to add insult to injury here, but I'm flipping this divan over and seeing all this mildew. I'm just in total disbelief. I mean, it's absolutely incredulous. So I called the crew chief and asked him if they are aware of the humidity problem and the mildew in the airplane, and he said yes, but apparently this guy didn't get the memo. And of course there wasn't any attempt to clean anything, and so this remains. So now we're going to have to go back and clean this and strip the paint off of the front side, and let's see what we have. Okay, so where there were still some spots of mildew, I sanded away the coating from the leather totally, so that any roots of the mildew that got into the coating, they're removed along with the coating, and this is all getting a new coating on the back. Okay, I wouldn't mind putting this back into my airplane.